Hey there, fellow explorers! Today, we're diving into the mysterious world of ancient Egypt and their obsession with the afterlife. These guys were serious about it, spending their lives preparing for a journey they believed began the moment they took their last breath. Imagine that, an entire civilization dedicated to unlocking the secrets of what lay beyond the grave. The ancient Egyptians believed that death was not the end, but a transition to another realm. They called this realm the Duat, a mysterious and often dangerous place ruled by gods, goddesses, and supernatural beings. To navigate this perilous landscape, the deceased needed all the help they could get. This is where the Book of the Dead comes in. This wasn't your typical book, mind you. It was more like a collection of spells, hymns, and instructions, kind of like a guidebook for the afterlife. Think of it as the ultimate travel guide for navigating the underworld and securing a happy hereafter. So, buckle up, grab your metaphorical torches, and let's unravel the secrets of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Now, let's talk about the Book of the Dead. This ancient text is one of the most fascinating and mysterious artifacts from ancient Egypt, offering a glimpse into the beliefs and practices surrounding death and the afterlife. Picture this: a papyrus scroll filled with hieroglyphs, illustrations, and powerful spells, all aimed at helping the deceased navigate the afterlife. These scrolls were meticulously crafted, often taking months or even years to complete, and were considered essential for ensuring a safe passage to the next world. It wasn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal, though. Each book was personalized, with spells tailored to the individual's needs and desires for their journey. The ancient Egyptians believed that each person had a unique path to follow in the afterlife, and the Book of the Dead was designed to guide them along that path. These spells, or utterances as they were called, were like keys to unlock different levels of the afterlife. They were carefully chosen to address the specific challenges and obstacles that the deceased might encounter, ensuring that they were well prepared for whatever lay ahead. They were meant to protect the deceased from dangers, provide them with food and provisions, and even grant them the power to overcome obstacles. The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a perilous journey, filled with potential threats and challenges, and the Book of the Dead was their way of ensuring that the deceased had everything they needed to succeed. Talk about an afterlife insurance policy. These spells were like a comprehensive guidebook, offering protection, sustenance, and guidance to the deceased as they made their way through the afterlife. But the Book of the Dead wasn't just about escaping danger and securing comfort. It was also about achieving a higher state of being and ultimately reaching eternal bliss. It was also about transformation. The ancient Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a process of becoming, where the deceased would undergo various stages of purification and transformation in order to reach their final destination. The Egyptians believed that in order to reach a state of eternal bliss, the deceased had to undergo a process of purification and judgment. This process was seen as essential for shedding the impurities of the earthly life and becoming worthy of entering the afterlife. This brings us to one of the most iconic scenes from the Book of the Dead, the weighing of the heart ceremony. This ceremony was a crucial part of the judgment process, determining whether the deceased was worthy of entering the afterlife. In this scene, the deceased's heart is weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. The heart was believed to be the seat of the soul and the source of all thoughts, emotions, and actions, making it the perfect measure of a person's worthiness. If the heart was pure, the deceased was granted access to the afterlife. This was seen as the ultimate reward, a confirmation that the deceased had lived a righteous life and was now worthy of eternal bliss. If not, well, let's just say things didn't end so well. The heart would be devoured by Ammit, a fearsome creature with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus, and the deceased would be condemned to eternal oblivion. The Book of the Dead was more than just a collection of spells and rituals. It was a comprehensive guide to the afterlife, offering the deceased everything they needed to navigate the challenges and achieve eternal bliss. It was a testament to the ancient Egyptians' deep belief in the afterlife and their desire to ensure that their loved ones were well prepared for the journey ahead. So, the next time you see an ancient Egyptian artifact or a papyrus scroll, remember the incredible journey it represents. The Book of the Dead is a fascinating glimpse into the beliefs and practices of one of the most advanced civilizations in history, and a reminder of the timeless human quest for immortality and eternal life. And that, my friends, is the story of the Book of the Dead. a guide for the deceased, a testament to the ancient Egyptians' beliefs, and a fascinating piece of history that continues to captivate us to this day. The Book of the Dead was like a toolbox for the afterlife, packed with spells and rituals for every occasion. This ancient text, known as the Book of Coming Forth by Day, was a collection of funerary texts that the ancient Egyptians believed would help guide the deceased through the perilous journey of the afterlife. It wasn't just a single book, but a compilation of various spells, incantations, and illustrations that were customized for each individual. Need to navigate a treacherous river of fire? There's a spell for that. The Egyptians believed that the afterlife was fraught with dangers, including rivers of fire, lakes of flames, and other fiery obstacles. These spells were designed to protect the soul and ensure safe passage through these hazardous realms. The imagery of fire was not just symbolic, but was thought to be a real threat that the deceased had to overcome. Want to ensure you have food and drink for eternity? Boom! Another spell's got you covered. The Egyptians were meticulous in their preparations for the afterlife, ensuring that the deceased would have all the necessities for a comfortable existence. Spells for sustenance were common, and they often included detailed instructions on how to summon food and drink. These spells were believed to magically provide the deceased with an endless supply of nourishment. These spells were more than just words, they were believed to have real power in the afterlife. The Egyptians held a profound belief in the power of words and symbols. They thought that by reciting these spells, they could invoke the divine forces necessary to protect and sustain the soul. The spells were often accompanied by intricate illustrations and symbols that were believed to enhance their potency. One of the most important spells was the negative confession. This was a crucial part of the judgment process in the afterlife. The negative confession, also known as the Declaration of Innocence, was a list of 42 sins that the deceased would declare they had not committed. Each sin was addressed to a specific deity, and the deceased had to convince these gods of their purity. This wasn't about confessing your deepest, darkest secrets to a priest. Instead, it was a formal declaration of innocence. The deceased would stand before the gods and recite this list, asserting their moral integrity. This ritual was a testament to the importance of ethical conduct in Egyptian society. It was believed that only those who led a righteous life could pass this test and gain entry into the afterlife. Instead, the deceased would recite a list of sins they hadn't committed during their lifetime. This was a way to demonstrate their worthiness to the gods. The list included sins such as theft, murder, and blasphemy. By denying these actions, the deceased hoped to prove their purity and gain favor with the gods. This ritual was a critical step in the journey to the afterlife. It was like saying, "Hey, Osiris, look at me, I've been a good person, let me into paradise." Osiris, the god of the afterlife, played a central role in this judgment process. The deceased would appeal to Osiris and other deities, seeking their approval to enter the field of reeds, the Egyptian paradise. This was a place of eternal peace and happiness, where the soul could live forever in harmony. But it wasn't just about talking the talk. The Egyptians believed that action spoke louder than words. They emphasized the importance of living a virtuous life, adhering to the principles of Maat, the goddess of truth, balance, and order. Maat was the foundation of Egyptian morality, and living in accordance with her principles was essential for a successful journey to the afterlife. The Egyptians also believed in walking the walk. That's where rituals came in. These rituals were not just for the deceased, but were also performed by the living to honor and support their loved ones in the afterlife. The rituals were elaborate and often involved the entire community, reflecting the collective effort to ensure a smooth transition for the deceased. That's where rituals came in. These rituals were meticulously planned and executed, often involving priests who specialized in funerary practices. The priests played a crucial role in performing the necessary rites and ceremonies, ensuring that the deceased received the proper send-off. These rituals were believed to activate the spells and provide the deceased with the protection and guidance they needed. These rituals, often performed by priests and mourners, were designed to help the deceased transition to the afterlife and appease the gods. Mummification was one of the most important rituals, preserving the body for eternity. The process was intricate and involved removing internal organs, treating the body with natron, and wrapping it in linen. This preservation was essential for the soul's survival in the afterlife. From elaborate mummification practices to funerary offerings and prayers, these rituals were an integral part of the Egyptian belief system. Funerary offerings included food, drink, and personal items that the deceased might need in the afterlife. Prayers and incantations were recited to invoke the god's blessings and ensure the deceased's safe passage. These practices reflected the Egyptians' deep commitment to honoring their dead. They reflected the deep respect and reverence they had for the dead and their journey to the afterlife. The tombs were often elaborately decorated with scenes depicting the deceased's journey and their hoped-for life in the afterlife. These depictions served as a guide and a reminder of the deceased's virtues and accomplishments. The Egyptians' meticulous preparations and rituals underscore their profound belief in the afterlife and the importance of ensuring a successful transition for the soul. Now, let's talk about the power of words. Words have always held a special place in human history, but for the ancient Egyptians, they were more than just a means of communication. The ancient Egyptians believed that words held immense power, especially in the afterlife. They saw words as magical tools that could shape reality and influence the spiritual realm. That's why the Book of the Dead is filled with chants, hymns, and sacred texts. This collection of spells and incantations was designed to guide the deceased through the perilous journey of the afterlife. These weren't just pretty words, they were believed to influence the gods, ward off evil, and even alter the fabric of reality. The Egyptians believed that by reciting these texts, they could ensure a safe passage and a favorable judgment in the afterlife. Remember those personalized spells we talked about earlier? These spells were tailored to the individual, incorporating their name and specific desires for the afterlife. They weren't just generic formulas. Each spell was a unique creation, crafted with care and precision to meet the needs of the deceased. They were carefully crafted incantations, often incorporating the deceased's name and specific desires for the afterlife. This personalized approach ensured that the spells were effective and powerful. It was like writing your own ticket to paradise. The more personalized and specific the spells, the better the chances of a successful journey through the afterlife. But the power of words wasn't limited to the Book of the Dead. The ancient Egyptians used words in many other aspects of their spiritual and daily lives. The Egyptians believed that speaking the names of the gods and goddesses invoked their presence and favor. By calling upon the deities, they could gain their protection and blessings. They also believed that reciting certain texts, like the pyramid texts and coffin texts, could grant the deceased magical powers and protection in the afterlife. These texts were inscribed on the walls of tombs and coffins to ensure that the deceased had access to their power. This belief in the power of words highlights the importance of language and ritual in ancient Egyptian spirituality. Words were not just symbols, they were living entities that could influence the world around them. It shows how they used words as tools to connect with the divine, influence their destiny, and navigate the mysteries of the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians' reverence for words and their magical properties is a testament to their deep understanding of the power of language. In their world, words were more than mere communication. They were a bridge between the mortal and the divine, a way to shape reality and ensure a harmonious existence in both this life and the next. The meticulous care with which they crafted their texts and chants reflects their belief in the profound impact of words. Every hieroglyph, every chant, was a carefully chosen tool in their spiritual arsenal. So, the next time you see ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, remember that these were not just artistic expressions. They were powerful incantations, carefully designed to influence the world and the afterlife. The legacy of these sacred texts and chants continues to fascinate us today, offering a glimpse into the spiritual life of one of history's most intriguing civilizations. Through their words, the ancient Egyptians sought to understand and control the world around them, leaving behind a rich tapestry of spiritual wisdom that still resonates with us. Their chants and sacred texts are a testament to the enduring power of language and its ability to shape our reality, both in this life and beyond.